Daniel was born in the quiet, dusty outskirts of Lubbock, Texas. His house was small, worn from years of wind and sun, but inside it carried warmth. His father was a mechanic who came home every day with oil-stained hands, and his mother worked long shifts at a local diner. They didn't have much, but they gave everything they could to keep Daniel and his younger sister smiling. As a boy, Daniel loved to dream. When other kids talked about sports or cartoons, Daniel was the one staring at buildings, tracing the lines of rooftops, wondering how they stood so tall. He wanted to build, to design, to create something that outlived him. But whenever he shared those dreams, people laughed. Kids, like you don't end up building skyscrapers. One teacher once told him, maybe you should aim for something smaller. That night, Daniel sat outside on the porch, the Texas stars stretching endlessly above him. His father joined him, tired but smiling. Don't let anyone put a price tag on your dreams, son, he said. Dreams don't belong to those who mock them. They belong to those who dare to chase them. Those words burned into Daniel's heart. High school was a battlefield. Daniel wasn't the top student, but he was relentless. He studied under flickering lights, worked part-time at the local grocery store, and saved every spare dollar. When others bought new shoes, Daniel kept his old ones patched with tape. He started something he called a future jar, a glass jar where he dropped every coin he could save. His friends teased him, but Daniel kept going. Each coin was a promise to himself. College seemed impossible, but Daniel refused to quit. With a mix of scholarships, small loans, and endless part-time jobs, washing dishes, mowing lawns, unloading trucks, he finally enrolled in an engineering program in Dallas. On his first day, surrounded by polished students with shiny laptops and expensive clothes, he felt out of place. But instead of shrinking, he decided to fight harder. Life in Dallas was brutal. Daniel couldn't afford the dorms, so he rented a tiny room above a mechanic shop. The walls were thin and the nights were loud, but it was his space. He rode a second-hand bicycle to campus every day, rain or shine. He often skipped meals to afford textbooks. At night, when exhaustion tried to break him, he whispered to himself, one day, this will all be worth it. The professors were tough, the assignments endless, and there were moments when Daniel thought about giving up. Once, after failing a major exam, he sat in the library alone, tears stinging his eyes. He called his mother and confessed, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Her reply was simple but powerful. Son, you were made for this. Struggles don't mean stop, they mean step forward. Those words lifted him. Daniel worked harder. He asked questions when he didn't understand. He stayed in labs until security kicked him out. Slowly, his grades improved. His classmates began to respect him, not because of his background, but because of his resilience. After years of sleepless nights, Daniel graduated. But the real world didn't welcome him easily. Job interviews turned into rejections. Some employers didn't believe in him because of his small-town roots. Others simply ignored him. He sent out dozens of applications, and silence came back like an echo. But Daniel remembered his father's words. Dreams belong to those who chase them. He kept chasing. Finally, one company gave him a chance, an entry-level engineering role in Dallas. It wasn't glamorous and the pay was low, but it was a doorway. Daniel walked in on his first day wearing a thrift store suit, nervous but determined. The office was filled with people from wealthy families, confident and well-spoken. Daniel felt invisible at first, but he decided, if he couldn't outshine them with polish, he would outwork them with grit. He stayed late when others left. He volunteered for projects no one wanted. He solved problems others gave up on. His designs weren't just technical, they carried heart. Slowly, he began to stand out. His manager once told him, Daniel, you don't just do the work. You remind us why the work matters. But life wasn't done testing him. Just as his career began to rise, his father fell gravely ill. Years of working in a hot garage had worn down his heart. The doctor spoke in numbers and risks, and Daniel felt helpless. He spent nights at the hospital, holding his father's hand, praying for more time. His savings vanished into medical bills, but Daniel refused to let his father go without a fight. He worked days at the office and nights as a delivery driver just to cover costs. Exhaustion burned him, but love kept him going. One night, his father whispered, "Son, no matter what happens, I'm proud. You became the man I always hoped you'd be." Those words broke Daniel, but they also built him. His father survived surgery, and Daniel covered every expense himself. That struggle became his greatest badge of honor. Years passed, and Daniel rose through the ranks. From a nervous intern, he became a respected project leader. He started designing buildings that shaped the Dallas skyline. Yet, he never forgot Lubbock. Every few months, he returned to his old school, speaking to kids who reminded him of himself. He told them, "Don't believe the voices that say you can't. I was once sitting where you are, dreaming with empty pockets. The only difference is I refuse to quit." One of those kids, years later, wrote him a letter. "Because of your talk, I applied to college. Because of your story, I believed in myself." Daniel kept that letter framed on his desk. His biggest moment came when he was invited to speak at a youth conference in Texas. Standing on stage, looking at thousands of young faces, he remembered the boy with patched shoes, the boy saving coins in a jar, the boy who once thought he wasn't good enough. With a steady voice, he said, "Dreams don't come true because they're easy. They come true because you refuse to quit." The audience erupted, but Daniel wasn't thinking about applause. He was thinking of his parents, of late nights on the bicycle, of the boy who whispered himself under the Texas stars. That boy hadn't just dreamed. He had built, fought, cried, and risen. And now, Daniel stood as proof. No matter where you start, no matter how heavy the struggle, if you keep going, you can rise beyond every limit. Because in the end, Daniel wasn't just a boy from Texas. He was a symbol of what happens when you don't just dream. You dare to live your dream.